Hey, what's up, y'all? How's it going? This is Jeff Richardson from Everything is Awesome. Friends call me Jefe. So I've been reading chapters from my book, Shattered Worlds Day One. And this is starting at chapter 31, I think I'm calling it. Book 2, chapter 31. In my notes, I called this part The Dance with Death. So if you're out there and you're listening, share what I'm about. Tell people about the book. That's good for Hefe. So we figured Grundle defeated the creature, right? So now we're on to chapter 31. Everything should be fine. Joran tackled Ayana and drove her to the deck, covering her with as much of his body as he could. The spear, however, did not fire. The portal closed up with a zwing, and the black smoke disappeared. She could smell his cologne mixed with a trace of cigar smoke and sweet candy sweat as he lay upon her, gasping for breath. The spell must have worked. That or Grundle's well timed strike had put an end to the horrible beast. Either way, she was alive. Joran Barlow's body felt perfectly designed to envelop her own. Strange the thoughts one has when death is within tasting distance. She felt a smile grace her lips as the stubbly skin of his neck slid along her cheek. As his weight bore down upon her, she could feel every inch of her own plump flesh. Gods, it's been too long. Well, that was weird, huh? All right. All right. I guess this is book 2, chapter 31. Or 32, rather. The captain wrenched the bloody spear away from the creature, his boot wedged into the hole where its neck should have been. Grundle, you magnificent bastard! You've done it! Captain Thraxus was smiling like a madman, his hair sweaty and dangling in his eyes, his shoulders heaving with exhausted yet exultant energy. Grundle smiled before collapsing to his side, the improvised weapon skittering across the floor. The creature was still. Had someone entered the room at that moment, they might have thought Grundle and the captain had been performing a pantomime act with a broken suit of armor. How wrong they would have been. The captain knelt beside Grundle. Verkelet, you're a goddamned hero. Grundle tried to speak, but pain was preventing the words from forming. He gurgled a sort of laughter instead. The captain patted his arm. Don't worry. The priestess will be here soon. Captain! It was Ayana, shouting from the other ship. Thraxus waved to Numerius. Stargazer, well done. Status report, over. Ayana looked around. Mostly all she saw was Joran's salt and pepper stubble in her face. Something tingled between her thighs as he slid off of her and onto his knees. He scanned her form for any evidence of injury. She squeezed one of his hands in gratitude. Something stirred between his legs as well, which, when he realized she had noticed it, filled his face with redness. A moment passed. Sophra spoke into the mic. All safe here, Captain. Over. Faline jumped in as well. No injuries, Captain. You? The captain stood, looked across the room. The captain stood up and looked across the room to Ramsdell. He broke into a run, shouting Joss's name. When he reached Joss, Numerius was already there, assessing the man's wounds. Numerius spoke up. He's alive, Captain, but the black energy appears to have hurt him pretty bad. The captain spoke calmly through his tears, clutching Ramsdell's quivering form in his arms. Sister Stargazer, he'll need your healing. We're on our way, Captain. Joran helped Aeana to her feet. They shared a brief, awkward moment, Aeana gasping slightly as their bodies separated. She squeezed his forearm in silent appreciation. He appeared grief-stricken, but she imagined it was more likely mortification due to his body's unwanted display of male arousal. Aeana tried not to laugh. Oh boy. Um the next one is pretty heavy exposition, and I'm not sure. I might just clip the whole thing. Yeah, I'll save that for the Patreon. So this is after the fight. Everybody's been reunited. Maybe there's some connective tissue. I don't know. Chapter 34. Demons. Lady Stargazer, Portillion stood near the entrance to the chapel, or what passed for one on this ship. Aeana, excuse me. Aeana had cobbled together a few holy symbols in case any of the crew felt moved to seek spiritual guidance. So far, she was the only one availing herself of the space. She waved him in and pointed to the seat beside her. He sat and set a large blue-bound book on his lap. She caught his gaze briefly just to assess. He was dealing with something, but he was largely inscrutable. He had the annoying capacity some geniuses had to give the appearance of being weighed down by life, and yet unwilling to admit they had any problems. She usually thought of it as a form of showing off, as if they were saying, "Look how burdened I am, and yet I continue to be amazing. So sad." Portillion had that, but something else as well. Some light reading, I see. Portillion smiled perfunctorily. His sense of humor was largely underdeveloped. Was largely undeveloped. Maybe underdeveloped would be, nah, largely undeveloped. Demons, actually. I've been going through my library looking for anything I can find about them, and I came across this. He opened the book to reveal a gorgeous color plate of a goddess, clad in red and white and swirling with deep orange hair, squaring off against a strange bluish figure, godlike in appearance, but dead in the eyes. She recognized the symbol in the goddess's left hand. It was Zora. She leaned in close to read the text. Zora facing the undamaged one. She looked up at Portillion, suspicious. What is this? He smiled and sat up even more obnoxiously straight than he already was. He closed the book to reveal the spine, Hiawant's mystical concordance of spiritual entities. Hiawant, she was a priestess of Zora in the Age of Elegies. Upon her retirement as head of the order, she traveled the galaxy compiling stories and pictures of the gods in their various incarnations. It was in this form of the goddess, the Red Lady, that the ancients depicted her defending humans from demons and the undead. The Red Lady. Ayana was moved. She hadn't read the book, but she knew the stories well. She took the tome and began to read aloud. In the year 1170, during the reign of King Montparnasse the Dignified, in the year 1170, during the reign of King Montparnasse the Dignified, a terrible evil befell the people. Zora sent her bravest champion to face it, a young woman by the name of Ayanna the Blameless. Ayanna startled herself. She knew the name and the legend, and knew she had been named for the woman, or someone who'd been named after her at some further point in history. Was Portillion attempting to curry favor with her by offering her information relevant to her interests? He nudged her to continue. She cleared her throat and kept reading. Ayanna rode to the village of Wieldajuri, accompanied by 3 men-at-arms. When they reached the village, they were taken to the chapel of Wieldajuri to see the travesty that had occurred. The remains of Zora's priests in the area had been disturbed and an ancient crypt uncovered. People had been disappearing in the night, and some suspected the angry spirits of the disturbed clergy were rising from their graves to kill. They entered the earth, which closed up behind them. The disappearances ceased, but for 3 days no one could reach the young priestess. The church was preparing to send a convoy to rescue her when she returned, holding the remains of an unborn child. She told a tale of great horror and danger, and of a mysterious evil that threatened to destroy the world of man. She asked the goddess for leave to hunt down the evil and troops to face it with her. A group was formed, the Valiant Cross Legion, to which all manner of magical weapons and armor were bestowed. They did scour the world for enemies to slay, and slay them they did. Eano would eventually drive the undead horde back to that very tomb and seal it in the earth for all time. The seal was married to another that would be buried with Eana in the Royal Funerary Center on Secundus. I changed the name of this. On Secundus Salim. The worst of the undead beasts was said to be Ragnoth the Blind, an invisible disembodied sorcerer who required dead flesh to manifest into existence. She marveled at the language, the archaic, stilted quality of it, amazed at how little information was actually conveyed. But of course, she shouldn't be amazed. So little remained from those days, it makes sense that only bits and pieces would be carried forward into oral history. Ragnoth, an evocative name, to be sure. Portillion patted the page. What if it's the same entity? Lady Stargazer, think about it. You could have just done battle with a legendary spirit. He seemed positively giddy. A killer with a name is no better than one without. What does it matter either way? Portillion appeared annoyed. Clearly, he wasn't used to having his intellect challenged. A spirit of such age and intelligence could possess knowledge that could benefit us in our quest to protect and unify the galaxy. If we could somehow draw the creature back out and mine him for information. Aeona stiffened. Seriously? Portillion, these things are liars. Nothing they say or do can ever be trusted. They live only to kill and subvert. Honestly, why would you have anything to do with such a creature if you didn't have to? For thousands of years, humans have been writing spells, weaving runes, and developing magical powers. Surely someone has learned ways of trapping these creatures and compelling them to speak accurately. Ayana handed the book back to him and rose to her feet. What you're describing is called sacrilege. Doing business with demons is inviting them to wreak havoc on our world. Whoever sent this thing to us surely believes. Whoever sent this thing to us surely believes they are doing it for the right reasons as well. Evil only triumphs as long as we allow it to exert its will. If we aid a creature such as this, we are no better than those who would use it to murder and enslave. You may have slept through the attack, Portillion, but make no mistake. If Grundle had not done what he did, none of us would be alive. And your precious object, whatever it is, would be in the hands of your enemies. We defeated that thing by using the power of human minds to blot out that which damages our spirits through repetition, distraction, and higher thoughts. If we had instead attempted to guide this creature's energy, to use it for our own purposes, we would have been tainted just as surely as Ramsdell has been tainted by that unholy darkness. He stared out the window at the stars, pondering her words. He spoke, still facing the window. And what if you're wrong? What if I told you there was a way one could harness the power of demons to bring them into the service of humanity? Would you stand in the way of such progress? She stared at him, amazed at the very idea one could produce anything of value with the power of evil. She started to speak, stopped, then sighed. Portillion, it's late. I need to get some sleep. I pray you will exercise restraint in this matter, at least until we've had more time to discuss it. As she left the room, she felt a shudder. Was it possible that this unfortunate turn of events could be unrelated to their troubles with Creel and the Yefriti ascendancy? How could all these things be happening at once? Goddess be praised, she hoped she would not be required to take on more than she was capable of. Doing good was thankless enough work and exhausting. Saving the galaxy was orders of magnitude more daunting than anything she'd considered during her training. Zora, I pray thee, deliver me from such evil. This boy is foolish and ambitious, and he needs your guidance. I serve at your pleasure. Peace and blessings be upon you. So that's Aeona Stargazer. It's my girl. All right, guys, I gotta go kick it with a cast member of The War for the Tower. It's totally amazing lady named Andrea, fixing to be on one of my other podcasts, Shattered Worlds RPG, which reminds me, listen to all my shit. Go to my website, awesomepod.squarespace.com. There's links, sort of, once in a while updated to some stuff I do. I also do Good Idea, which probably isn't on there. But anyway, I love you guys. Take care of yourselves and come on back next time for the next part of this book. Book 3, The Frontier Star. What? Here's a little taste of chapter 1. Portillion, we'll meet you in cargo. Captain Thraxus switched off the intercom, looking around at the crew. Faline was loaded for bear. If Joran's count was correct, she had 7 different ways she could kill you, not counting hand to hand. Sophus was drawn and calm as usual. Joran found himself both annoyed and intrigued by the man. To think what incredible things he could do to you if he wanted to. Gods bless the makers for giving the Mistral a conscience. Joran had seen what one could do without it. Grundle was on the mend. It had only been 2 days since the necrotic, 3 since the bombing, but thanks to his incredible Voraki constitution and Aeonna's healing powers, he was returning to some level of health. Ramsdale was sick, angry, sullen. He'd lost sight in his right eye and could barely see through the other. He was near useless in the engine room and would be until he'd learned to adapt to his new audio-centric life. He didn't come right out and say it, but Joran could tell he blamed the heroes for his fate. All right. See you guys next time. Bye.